Welcome. General Chemistry. I've had many of you in lab already, so many of you already can identify that I'm Dr. Garrison. For those of you who haven't had lab with me, I actually have lab on Thursday with Mr. White, right? There's 2 coursework assignments if you haven't found those yet. They can be found on Campus Web. If you open Campus Web, it actually defaults to Course Web when you open the CHE114 page. Now, I do not use the lab pages, okay? Just to let you guys know that. I don't use the lab pages. I only use the lecture page, so I only have to post it twice instead of 4 times. You guys with me? And so, Mr. White and I are doing the exact same curriculum. In fact, he's going to use my video lectures as pre-lab and my video and my quizzes, and so then he'll be there with you in lab. So just to let you know that. So you'll see the same content as everybody else if you're in one of his labs. Cool? You guys with me? Now we'll add things, and we act differently in laboratory, but not much. Okay? So anyway, just to let you guys know that. But there are assignments posted, and I'll actually show you real quick handouts because we're going to go there. All the laboratory handouts can be found here, as well as linked to the video assignment, the quiz, right? You can pull it up either place. Sometimes they get saved as different versions, and I apologize with that. I try to update both at the same times, but you get interrupted and you forget. You guys understand that? Because you can't post them, you don't pull them from the same place. I know that sounds weird, but it's Campus Web. You guys have, I'm not going to say anymore because I'm on video. I'm videoing all the lectures. I hope that's okay. If you come down front, I ask you to come down front and you're uncomfortable with that, then you need to let me know, okay? But I video those and I will post all of those on YouTube and then bookmark them to the course. So if you miss class, then you'll have a copy of the lecture from that day. I'm starting over again. I actually have a full set of videos, but for a different book. The publisher was no longer supporting my book with the homework, and so I had to switch from last semester to this semester. So I do apologize for those of you that might have gotten a book from someone who was in last year. I didn't have a choice because I would have stayed. I really liked what I was doing. Does that make sense? But hey, change is good, and so we'll make it better. But things will be posted as I get them done this semester, because I'll be working with you guys during the semester, reading the chapters. I've read most of it already, but to go back as I prepare lectures and those types of things. And so then as I finish those and lecture them, make the edits that I want to make, then I'll put them up at that point. Does that make sense? So by the end of the semester, all the PowerPoints will be posted too. Okay, cool? You guys with me? All right, so I always start, I've already started and I should have done that. That's bad of me. Okay, I try to start the semester with a bang. You guys like bangs?
Yeah, I love them.
Do you do?
Yeah.
I like them a lot. We'll do a few this semester. Is that okay? This one's just for fun. Sometimes we do them just for fun. Other times we do them for educational value, right? So we use them to teach a lesson. Do we need to dim the lights, you think? Make it better?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Oh no. Oh. Look. Like magic. Oh, hang on. Anticipation's killing you, isn't it? So that was a helium balloon, right? Yeah, you did. So, what was in that balloon? Helium? Does helium catch on fire and burn? So that means it's got to be a flammable gas, but now the balloon was less dense than the air that it was in, right? Because it was what? It was floating, right? So I had to tie it down with a string. It actually was a little bit heavy when it got here, and I had to cut a little bit of the balloon rubber. I got off the end of it, but anyway, I got it to float. So that means it's less dense than air. Any guesses as to what it is? Hydrogen gas. Yes, that was a hydrogen balloon, and so we blew up a hydrogen balloon. Fun, right? Everybody's attention is down front now. That worked. So I want to open a lecture real quick here and go to the second slide and open that up. And yeah, I feel like this guy right here most of the time. Don't you? Yeah, because I'm kind of nerdy, those types of things. No, I am a nerd, and I admit to that. And I have nerdy hobbies sometimes. Also have others. I fish. Okay? I farmed at one point in my life. We had 1,000 head of cattle. And at one point, at least about 2,500 acres. We owned about 500. And yeah, delivered 30,000 square bales every winter because we sold most of those. Right? Baled another 5,000 big round bales. Sold some of those. Fed the rest of them. We had a bull feed business, lime fertilizer business. So I know what agriculture is too, right? Now I've been away from it a long time. And I actually love my life. Okay, we'll talk about that more too. Right? Now what am I an expert in though? Chemistry. I'm an expert in chemistry. Why? I have a PhD in chemistry, don't I? Yeah. And so I literally studied chemistry for a really long time. And not only did I study it, what else do I do? I teach it. In fact, if we look at the learning hierarchy, when you learn the most is when you're actually teaching it to someone else. Yeah. Studying is a really important thing, right? And so, now, sometimes you need help, and this slide has help, all right? My office is in 304. Just go upstairs, ask for where I'm at, and you can find it. Okay, we also have study sessions up there. Right now, scheduled Monday through Thursday, 6 to 8. You can get help in the evenings if you don't have time during the daytime. Okay? And all of the students that are doing study sessions have had general chemistry. So, hey, that's an advantage for you guys, right? So they know how to fill out lab reports. They know how to do the mathematics. They know how to build a graph, right? So they've done it all. So when you need that help to do that, then they can help. You can come up during the daytime too, 8 to 5. We have a study room up there, okay? And if you see somebody with a name tag on, they are working and you can ask them questions. Cool? Sometimes they don't even mind when they're not wearing their name tags, right? Because they're just nice kids. All right, they're our student workers, and I'm really proud of them. They work really hard to do their jobs. Okay? And they have bought into the belief that we want to make the best learning environment for chemistry that we can make. Does that make sense? So they have pride in their workstation, and I love that. And so they actually become kind of like family. You guys have that in your workstations? Yeah, they're my kids. They're my extended kids. I actually have other kids. Yes, that is my cell number. You can text me. You can call me if you need to. That's my email. You can use it. I don't care. Okay? You can literally homework. How many people are concerned about homework? If you are struggling with a problem, or you can go to the study session, or if you need to, I don't mind. I mean, if it becomes overwhelming, I'll tell you guys, hey, it's a little too much. It's never been that yet. Okay? But you can photograph a problem you're working on and say, I'm stuck. And text that to me. And where do I start? Can you give me a hint? And I'll answer you. Okay? Maybe not immediately, but very often immediately. Okay? And I've even got a napkin in the middle of a halftime at a basketball game and started problems on that, taking a picture and send it back. Okay? I sit down at the kitchen table. I've got a notepad right there by the kitchen table. When I get one of those at home, I got my calculator right there, and I'll set up a problem, right? And I won't do the whole thing. I won't show you everything, but I'll get you started, right? And then I want you to try, and then if you still struggle and can't get the right answer, I want you to send it back to me, right? So I can see what you've done. And if you've done some work on it, and finally I just need to solve it and show you on that case, well, the next problem is just like it, so hey, you get to try again. Cool? You guys with me on that? So I don't want you to feel like you don't have support, because that's the best thing that I provide. Okay? I may not be the best lecturer in the world. I ramble and tell stories sometimes. I sometimes talk about things that are important to me at the time. Okay? Maybe a lesson I learned at church. Okay? So I might do that. Okay? Maybe something I saw in the community, or something bigger that's going on in the world. Right? Afghanistan, for example, right now. Oh, wait a minute, is there some kind of virus that's going around the world? We might talk about that too. Okay? So just be aware that those things will come up. Usually they're connected to something in the class and that will trigger the conversation. You guys with me? But not always. So you guys should know that about me. Now, I brought a balloon to explode, but I brought another something with me. What did I bring? How do you know that's a guitar? Because it looks like it. It's a case, right? But I mean, don't, like people sometimes carry other things in guitar cases?
Yes.
Weapons and those types of things? Yeah, not me. So, and you're thinking, gosh, Dr. Garrison, why do you have a guitar?
You're gonna play it.
Right? I'm going to play it. Yeah, I might play a little bit here. So, but it's actually on a lesson. And this is one I started doing years ago. I actually started with basketballs. I've got kids that were athletes. I have two actually that are still are. See the one in the middle right there, number 25? That's my daughter. Yeah, she's actually at Rockhurst University. She's a senior. She's still playing basketball. She plays there. She's a guard. And yeah, so blue knee her freshman year, the preseason warm-up game. You have to practice before that. She didn't even get to play. So the coach told her she's going to play. She's starting to recover from that, but she's back and she's playing, right? See the kid down here? He's doing some science measuring right there. He just graduated from college a year ago. He works at Honeywell, the defense plant in Kansas City. Right, lives in Raymore. He's an engineer now, mechanical. So went to University of Missouri. That's my oldest. Now, my youngest, you see in the top picture, there's a Mudfest thing going on up there. Let me flip the lights a little bit so you can see that a little better. Front. Right there. Let's go middle lights on. There. You see him? The little kid in the blue jean shorts, right behind the nerd with the safety glasses on, the button-up shirt. Pulling, that's me right there. Yeah, I'm that guy. But you see the little kid out there? He's now my height. Weighs about 185, 190, and he's a junior. He's the starting outside linebacker, weak side for Branson football this season. So it's not that he hits that hard, I know because I watch him, but he does his job every time, right? He contains. And so he'll make some tackles, got a few good sacks in some of the scrimmages ahead of the season. Now, wait a minute. Do these things have anything to do with chemistry? Wait, what about this guy? Anybody know him? He's actually famous, whether you know it or not. Some of the music from Winter's Bones was his music. Anybody know Lonnie Hoppers? He's about 80 years old. He's retired now. A little older than 80, actually. I played with him at a music festival at SMS a few years back. He came, that banjo right there, that banjo is a Grundy banjo. Okay, so the luthier, the banjo maker, his name is Laurie Grundy. He's actually my stepdad. He's Australian, and he builds some of the finest banjos in the world. I truly believe that. Okay, Lonnie played. He actually, if you go back in time, he played with Bill Monroe. It was about 150 musicians did, but he was one of his banjo players at one time. Okay, traveled with his band. Anybody know who Bill Monroe is? Father Bluegrass. I mean, he was the guy who brought it out into the world, right? So Lonnie's a pretty good player, right? He's so much better than I am. But now, wait a minute. What's that got to do with engineering, music, building banjos? How many people in here are ready to build a banjo today? How many people can beat their dads in driveway pickup basketball every time they grab a basketball? And actually since she was 14. Is that awful? I mean, even fouling her and knocking her down, I still can't beat her anymore. If I step back to guard her drive, what does she do? She buries a three over me every single time, right? So I stay up tight to guard the drive, right? You with me? Now, she still gets around me, even when I'm holding on to the back of her shirt. Okay? Because why?
She's more athletic.
She's more athletic, and does she practice?
Yes.
About every day, even during the summertime. She hit the gym at least 3-4 days a week, right? There was no requirement for their team for the summer, but she did it anyway. You with me? Now, wait a minute, am I getting to something that's common here? How did Lonnie become a good player? He practiced, didn't he? Right. In fact, he taught banjo lessons for years. That's actually how I met him. He taught my mother how to play banjos. He also introduced my mother to a man named Lori Grundy, who she married late in life after a death, right? So he became my stepdad because of him, right? There's a connection there. But he was a great banjo teacher too. My mom plays all the time now. And so I picked up the guitar to learn to play with my mom, right? So, now, we're going to talk about this a little bit more. To play guitar, whoa, that missed. Is that exactly in tune? It is, isn't it? So it's probably because the temperature changed from my office. Oh, there it is. That's the one. Now I'm cheating, aren't I?
That's okay.
Can some people do this by ear? They're so practiced. Yeah, they don't even, they just start tuning, and it just drives me nuts because I can't do it. Right? But you have to be able to tune a guitar, right? And then if you try to play it, is that coherent or anything? It kind of ugly, wasn't it? Right? But then if you know where to place your, literally, anybody know what that note is? That's the bass note, the root note for that chord. That's G, isn't it? Right? And so, wait a minute. How many people here knew that that was what a root note was? Yeah, a few of you, right? So you studied a little bit of music, right? You with me? So is that important? Let's say we're playing bluegrass. Yeah, so if you're playing bluegrass, you always want to strike the root note first. So you. Gosh, I can't even play. I'm so nervous. I can't play the note either. Now, I'm actually walking that between a G and what's the other note? What's the fifth note there that I'm actually playing on the opposite? Anybody know? G. What's after G in music? A, B, C, D. Right? So when you're playing bluegrass, it's customary, if you're doing the boom chick, right, to play G, D, G, D. Now, is that knowledge that you have to have? And then, is it easy to do if you've never done it before? I've been playing bluegrass for 15 years now. I still, in front of the crowd, struggle with it. Now, if you put me in a jam session, I do fine once I get going, right? But I'm not comfortable, okay? Yeah. In fact, I get so uncomfortable in front of crowds, they won't let me play a sixth string when my daughter and my oldest son, actually my youngest is playing percussion now, and we've got an uncle that plays guitar and does vocals. My daughter does vocals. And we get together, we played at the poorhouse in Hollister. Right? But do we play bluegrass? No, because my kids wouldn't play bluegrass. Right? So we play more pop, country, kind of a few rock, but mix, right? They delegated the bass guitar for me because, well, I know the appropriate chords and I know the appropriate counters, or the second minor, the fourth, the fifth, right? Wait a minute, have you ever heard the song? What is that? Oh my gosh. David played a secret chord.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And there it actually it references the fourth and the fifth, right? Yeah, well, that's what they're talking about, the chords that are involved in the song, right? The minor fall, the major lift. So that's music reference. So now, wait a minute, does that mean I'm a great musician? Anybody here have a favorite song? Yeah? What's your favorite song?
Rocky Top.
Rocky Top. Okay, so come on down. There you go.
Think about a guitar.
So now we're gonna, wait a minute, don't you listen to the song?
Yeah?
Don't you play it?
No?
Would you rather have a heavy tortoise shell pick or a medium
Whatever one you
Not
want
long?
to give me.
Okay. So, go ahead, we need a Rocky Top. Can you sing it?
I know this
When you said I was on Rocky Top down. Ain't no smart store on Rocky Top. Right? Isn't that the song?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've listened to it before, right? I've actually played it before. Does that make sense?
Let's hear it.
You should show me this.
Work with you on it someday. I haven't played it in years, right? You play?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you to come down and actually play. Now, I have a question. Do all of you have favorite songs? And do you listen to them on the radio all the time? Or not radio anymore, your playlist, right? You have your favorite playlist. How many of those songs can any of you actually play? So I've got a musician here that plays a lot. Most of us just listen, don't we? We just listen and learn, well, the chorus.
What you want to play?
No, anything, just rock it. Entertain us.
All right.
Yeah, a little Eric Clapton. Okay, can I do an interview? Yeah. Okay. Can I interview a little bit? Okay, so we've got a music star up here, and I want to ask a couple questions. Did you start playing this last year? The year before that?
Nope.
What age were you when you first picked up a guitar?
I was in the 8th grade.
8th grade. So that means you made it all the way through high school, and you're now a freshman in college?
Sophomore.
Sophomore. So 6-8 years. How often do you play?
About an hour a day.
Did you play this way immediately when you started?
A little bit longer when I first started.
No, I'm talking about the skill level.
Absolutely not.
How did you get better?
Practice.
You played an hour every day, and you learned new songs as you went. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay. This has a really important implication, not to music, but to learning all things. Lonnie Hoppers became a great banjo player by playing the banjo all the time. My son became a mechanical engineer by studying mechanical engineering, right? My daughter and son learned athletics and became skilled players by spending hours. Do you know how many days I rebounded over the last 7 or 8 years? I probably rebounded 20 days this summer. That's what your dad does, right? And then he yells at you, your shot's flat, quit that. And then your daughter says, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? You guys with me? Is that true? Yeah, it's practice. You can play another one, you can be background music. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is that to become good at something, you have to practice, right? To be faithful to Christ, you have to practice being a Christian, right? To be a good chemist, if you guys want to learn chemistry in this class, you have to practice it, right? Now, I will say the learning curve is steeper for some people, right? This class can be very, very hard, especially if you don't have math skills, right? Or if you don't have math skills, you've never had a chemistry class, because we have an expectation that you already have some vocabulary in here, okay? Because, well, we have a prerequisite of high school chemistry. And if you haven't had that, then we ask you to get introductory chemistry here to strengthen that a little bit. But now, if you have a good math background, I have a tendency to want to keep you. Okay? If you can do algebra and you can do unit conversions, then you can be really successful in here. But you'll have to practice the chemistry vocabulary more than somebody that already has some. You with me? And so you're starting in different places, and I have 2 semesters of general chemistry to get you all to the place I want you to be to move on to organic chemistry. You guys with me? So it's going to be harder for some of you, and so it's going to take more practice. Now, can practicing be efficient at times? I mean, where do you start? Where do we start in chemistry? The top one right there, right? You guys see that? And the average student learns, wait, that's not very much from lecture, is it? But now there's a couple people up there that are going to remember every single word I said. They have that type of brain. I used to have a student years ago, he would look like he was sleeping. And back then I used to wake sleeping students. I don't do that much anymore. It's not as fun as it used to be. But he would sleep and I would wake him. I'd ask him a question and he would shake his head and look at me. And then he would recite the answer based on the reference from the lecture that I had just made, or maybe one from days before. He stored that with his eyes closed. I never gave him a hard time about keeping notes again, right? He actually scored the highest. He's actually the 3rd highest in 20 years of teaching on a standardized test that I do, percentile in the nation, in general chemistry. I never saw him take a page of notes. But how many people in here can do that? Probably not many. Okay? That's a special talent, isn't it? Okay? He was gifted, is what I call that, right? Are we sometimes gifted with things, talents? Yeah. And then there's people like me that aren't that gifted, and so we just have to hard nose through and yeah, it's hard work for us. Okay? Classes weren't always easy for me, right? I was that kid that was studying until midnight in the science building and the security would come by and kick me out. Okay? So that's how much practice it took for me to get here. When I got to graduate school, it was even worse, right? Yeah, you become almost obsessive with things. So I'm not obsessive with one thing, so I am not a geek, right? You guys know the difference between the two, right? A geek is specialized on one thing, focus, right? Nerds are more well-rounded. So, and I'm okay with that, all right? It's not a derogatory term to me. I'm the one that, thinks that nerds rule the world. So, anyway. That's wonderful. We should have to do that every day.
I'll bring on with the both plays.
So, what was the lesson there?
Practice.
You got to practice. So, I don't know what aspirations you guys have or what score you're expecting out of this class. Okay? And in fact, I'm going to be bluntly honest with you right now. I don't care what your grade is. I don't. I care that you learn more chemistry than you started with. And if you're starting very weakly and you get to a C, you may have done 100 times more work than someone who already had good high school chemistry and they're through calculus mathematics already. And this class is just, I don't know, like eating pancakes at breakfast. Right? It's something you can do without thinking about it. Right? And so you're in here, there are some people like that in here right now. Okay? So I'm telling you that. You want to find them, become their friends. Study with them. Let them teach you. All right? In addition to, wait a minute, are study groups a great idea for general chemistry? For all science classes?
Yes.
Yeah. Make friends. And another thing, it gives you accountability to actually practice. Right? Were there a few days that my daughter didn't want to get out of bed to go shoot hoops this summer? that some dad banged on her door like 22 times because she's the hardest kid in the world to wake up? Yeah, that's true. Were there some days that I held her accountable because I had made my schedule so that I could go rebound for her at 10 a.m.? Yeah. So just to let you guys know that accountability helps you to stay honest about it, right? All right. So anyway, some people, I actually retain when I read. For me, that reading one, I'd move that way down there. I'm one of those weird people that I remember written word, I can see passages. Okay? That is, I guess, a gift of mine, right? I was blessed with that I can read something and usually have a good grasp of it. But now when I get into complex things, does that become difficult for me sometimes? And I have to read it like 12 times? Yeah, and especially when I'm outside of my area. I've been reading a lot about COVID mRNA vaccines lately, right? Because I want to know more about them, because I'm a nerd like that, right? And so I go to PubMed and I look at peer review stuff. Is there a difference between peer review and what we read on the internet? Even what we read in the news? Very often news is written from peer review, but if you go to the main source, the original article, are they sometimes different than the interpretation that you get from the internet or from the news? Yeah, absolutely, right? And so I hope to give you that skill, or at least to start thinking about becoming that type of person that you would do that. Because there's a lot of untruths out there. Okay? Anybody know when the first mRNA vaccine was actually used? What year? No, not one that far back, not near. 1992. That was when the first example in a laboratory was used. Right? You guys with me? Now, that means this isn't brand new, right? You guys with me? But it's fairly new in terms of chronological history. How many people were born in 92 or before 92? How many people were born before 1992? Wait, none of you guys were born before 1992? So this technology's been around longer than you. How fast were computers back in 1992? Were they slow? Had the DNA code of any organism been fully done at that point? How long did it take to do the first DNA, full human genome? Anybody know? Yeah, something like that. You realize we can do one in a day now? Less? Well, after we can do multiples in a day. What's changed? Technology. You know that within a month after the COVID-19 virus came out, the full RNA code was known for it? Published so that people could start working on a vaccine? Actually, you know what made the vaccines work? The way the RNA is coded at the beginning and end so that the body will use it instead of destroying it. And that was a discovery made by a scientist, I believe at University of Georgia, one of the Georgia colleges. Right? There's a review article from 2018 that says this may be one of the safest ways to make a vaccine that's ever been discovered. Why is 2018 significant?
Is that the Ebola breakout?
That's when it was written, yeah. But what hadn't come out? COVID-19. So in 2018, this technology was touted to be one of the safest ways to make a vaccine in history. It was saving lives not only from disease, but did you know that there are mRNA vaccines that would save you from cancer? That you can take the cancer cells and you can find a recognizable component of that, and you can teach your immune system to kill only cancer cells. And this has been successfully done for a number of different cancers. If you had cancer and you were going to die from it, would you take that treatment? I would. Right? So there's misinformation out there that is going crazy because we have all kinds of sources out there, but they're using pseudoscience, things that sound like science, to tout and support what they believe. And they're ignoring the peer-reviewed sources that scientists use. Right? And it's because these people don't practice it every day. They take a small snippet from one article and they say that this is what it is, right? They take a snippet that this is possibly going to cause problems in the reproductive system of females because the protein is somewhat similar. That they were looking at on the protein from the surface of the virus. Anybody know what the peer review says following up on that? There is no issue. But do we hear anything about that? No, because we're focused on the first part, the first thing that came out that said there might be a possibility. Okay? So what I hope to do with you in my class, and hopefully you get from other science classes, is to learn to be, well, literate in science. And that you can make some of these judgments yourself. Right? You can go to the sources and actually read what is really happening. Did you know that people who are pregnant and unvaccinated are, I can't remember the number, I think it's 26% more likely to miscarry than people who are vaccinated? That's statistically significant. I'll have to look that article up again to make sure that number is correct, but it's large enough, and there's a statistical significance that the gynecologist professional organization is spreading that to all of their members to make sure that women know that. How many people in here knew that already? I do, because I'm a nerd and I'm a scientist and I read these things. Okay? So, am I always right? I'm going to ask you this question. Am I always right? I would never claim that. Okay? And I'm going to say something else. We keep hearing that science changes, and we shouldn't listen to it because it's always changing. Is that a bad statement? Why is that a bad statement? It's changing because we have more of an understanding as we learn about something, right? And as we collect enough data, then we can start processing that data. And when we process that data, right? You guys with me? When we process that data and we do analysis on that data, then if there's a change in our original assumption, then we change, right? To make advances in science. I mean, there's the famous quote, right? We stand on the shoulders of giants. The people who came before us who did the initial groundbreaking work, right? You guys name any of those giants? I mean, there's one that everybody always gets. He was a physicist. Einstein? You said it, didn't you? What about Bohr? We're going to talk about him. We can't do chemistry without his work, right? Another physicist. Wait, that's not even a chemist, is it? So do we use other fields of science in our discipline? Absolutely. In fact, all this stuff that the mRNA stuff, ribonucleic acid, right? Well, those are molecules, and we'll look at the reactions that occur between those molecules, and we'll talk about the types of reactions and how they occur, but you'll have to take Dr. Zimmerman to get to learn how those codes work, right? And so we work together. Wait a minute, why don't I also know that? Why don't I know all about genetics and messaging and DNA and those types of things? It's too much for one person to specialize in. There's too much information, and so we specialize in a very specific field. I'm an analytical chemist. I know about 0.0001 of all science. I don't know, I made up that number. Right? I don't know what it is. It's a very small amount though. But the small piece that I know very well, right? Because why? Came all the way back to that original message, didn't it? Right? How does Dr. Zimmerman, how do you know that he knows a lot? Because he practiced and he has a degree on the wall and he specializes in that, right? You guys with me? Yeah, he's become an expert. And so to do that, he practiced. And he's very good at what he does, right? Now, it doesn't make him easy, right? So anyway, have I rambled enough about this? No. Let's look at the next slide and see what it says. Course materials, where are you going to find them? Campus Web. Is there another location that we've got to go? The Achieve platform, right? I mean, if I can get out of here, it was on escaping. All right, here it is. So, here we go. General chemistry. You guys are RUG ZZO. That's the course ID. If you haven't figured that out yet, haven't been able to get in. All right, so your homework will be found here mostly. Now, actually, we'll do some worksheets and those types of things, which are paper, okay? And I'm gonna have to adapt that. I'm gonna take some of my older assignments and adapt them to the new textbook, which actually is in a different order. And I have said for years and years, I always wanted to teach atoms first because I think students need those first. And all the books didn't start with atoms. And so somebody finally wrote an atoms first chemistry textbook, and that's the one I chose for this class this semester. Cool? All right, so we're going to do atoms first. But there is an orientation assignment that's extra credit. There is also a practice assignment, which is extra credit. All right, I will make, now I'm going to tell you about online homework. Sometimes you just can't type the right answer in there even though you've done it 100% correct. And there has never been anything that's more frustrating even for a faculty member when that happens, because I answer all of these questions and sometimes I can't get the syntax right. But I think the overall product is exceptional, right? And in fact, your homework is now linked to your textbook electronically, so when you're in the homework problem, you can actually go click the content button and it will take you right to that chapter and page. And then you can read that thing that you don't know, it's right there in front of you, and then you can go right back to that question. I think that's amazing, okay? I'm just gonna say that out loud. Now, but I will make entire chapters extra credit. If you don't have 100% on the electronic homework, then you're not trying. You guys with me? I intend for you to have 100% on the electronic homework. I'll give other assignments, we'll bring that point value down, and I promise you that the test will be difficult enough that I will have A's to D's in this class. Okay, you guys with me? All right, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's what it's going to be. I want every grade to be an A. If I could give that to you, I would. But we have given the job that we have to make a standard, we have to teach to that standard, and then we measure how well you meet that standard. Okay, you guys with me? But now in this part of the course, I'm going to make it to where it is possible for you to get 100%. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want you to use this. And I don't want you to use it angry, I want you to use it excited. Okay? It's an opportunity to learn. Okay? And every test, I will step up here, and you're getting ready to take the test, and you're up there, and you're nervous, and you're scared, and you don't know how well you're going to do, and everything else. And I will tell you, let that go. Inhale. Everybody inhale. Exhale. Let it go. Relax. Give me the best you got today. And if you don't like what you did, then practice more between now and the next test. right? So, now I'll also tell you that in chemistry, the first test is always the easiest. It's what you did in high school. Okay? And then you get a whole bunch more conversions, and you get to molarity, and chemical reactions, and quantum states, and all these fun things that maybe some of your teachers covered, especially if you took AP chemistry, right? But most of you didn't get. Okay? So, I know that. What happens to test scores when you have only practiced it one time instead of twice or 3 times? They go down. Okay? So, it's a real thing. I'm aware of it. I track all of that. I do statistics on all of that. Okay? Because I'm a nerd. I had a test that surprised me last semester. I gave a test, and it was one of the lowest averages that I have had in years. Right? It scared me, so I'm actually putting back some older things that I did into this course that I had taken out of the last course. Okay? In terms of paper assignments. Because I think you need some paper too. That makes sense? Because you get online. How many people have got that figured out where you click on, the teacher gives you 2 tries, right? So you just go down and click an answer that you think is the closest. And you miss them the first time, and then you go back and you have eliminated one answer, and oh, don't lie to me. Right? Anybody notice what I did to you on the quiz for lab? It's the average of the scores instead of the best score. What does that make you have to do? Read it before you take the quiz, otherwise you're going to get a lower average. Okay? Now, I will make a deal with you. If you guys will do that and those scores improve, I'll drop your lowest quiz score. It will be gone from the final grade. Fair enough? Okay? I'll do that occasionally. I also do test redos. Okay? When you miss points on a test, right or wrong, I give you an opportunity. You have to reference the book page. You have to give a full, complete answer why you missed it and what the full, complete written out, right? Paragraph form, what the correct answer is. If it's a math problem example, okay? Show me how to do it, step by step. You with me? But if you do that, then I'll give you 50% of the points back. Okay? So if you miss 10 points, you get 5 of them back. Is that fair? Yeah. What am I trying to get you to do? Is there a theme going on in today's lecture? Yeah, it's all about practice, isn't it? So practice is very, very important to learn something new, and especially if it is new to you. And in fact, I have put up some assignments that are actually practicing mathematics, because we're going to use the quadratic formula. This is chapter 0, and it's a review of mathematics and those types of things that we're going to use in this course. Okay? The first real homework assignment is actually the homework math review, and then in the next few days I'll put up chapter 1, right? And so those are actually homework problems, and you'll have the opportunity to go in to answer them, and cool? Yeah. And if you can't answer them, what do? Panic? B, go fishing? C, get help? D, give up? Whatever. Go fishing, that's what I do too. No, I would start studying. All right, I've got 1 minute. Anything you want to know in 1 minute? I was born in Rogersville, Missouri, a farm, yep. What was the what? Oh, hang on, let me go back to that. Rug something. R-U-G-Z-Z-O. R-U-G-Z-Z-O. That's your textbook. There's 4 options, right? When you go to the bookstore, you only need 1 of those. Yeah. To achieve, type in Google search achieve and look at one that's McMillan and yep.
So this is one of the textbooks.
That is your textbook, everything. Your textbook is connected. If I go right down here and I click on this, I'll go very quickly and come on. And right here, resources, and